Welcome to Understanding the Living Inquiries Before You Inquire. It's really important to watch this video before you watch the other two videos where I facilitate you through the inquiries. Those other videos are called Craving and Aversion, using the compulsion inquiry and anxiety together. That's one video. And the other one is the unfindable inquiry and the deficient self. It's really hard to inquire using the living inquiries until you understand what it is that we're doing. And let me first start off by saying that everything that you've watched in the videos so far applies to the living inquiries. In other words, while we're inquiring, we rest in presence and be aware of words, pictures, and energies. And we let all of those be exactly as they are. We're not trying to change anything. But what we do with the inquiries is we insert a question, depending on which inquiry we're using, into that process. With the living inquiries, we're always trying to find something. It's a lot like going into your closet and you're looking for a pair of shoes, and you pull up some socks and you say to yourself, "Is that the shoes?" And you say, "No, that's not the shoes." You pick up a shirt. You say, "Is that the shoes?" "No, that's not it." And you keep picking up things. You're trying to find something, like you were trying to find your keys in your house. But with the inquiries, you're looking for something, you could say, internally. You're looking for whatever is causing the issue in your life. Now, remember that I talked about the three facets of addiction. We have the compulsion track, the anxiety track, and then our self-identity. Each of the living inquiries address one of those three tracks. For example, the compulsion track is dealt with through the compulsion inquiry. The anxiety track is dealt with through the anxiety inquiry, and the self-identity or deficient self part of it is addressed through the unfindable inquiry. Another way to think of the compulsion and anxiety is craving and aversion. And usually craving and aversion are almost always involved in addiction in some way. We don't just feel compulsion towards something. We often feel a little bit of fear around it or even judgment, and that's the anxiety track. So I often use this little stuffed animal to explain the inquiries. Let's start with the compulsion inquiry. This red stuffed animal represents energy. Again, energy could be anything. It could be a felt sense of shame or guilt, a craving, heat, pain, anything. And these represent the words or pictures that we experience when we're experiencing a compulsion. So let's say the compulsion is towards beer, and then we have the words, "I want beer," and then actually a shape of a fist, which I'll explain in a second. Put this down for a second and just look into your own experience. Look at the picture of your substance, the one that you bought this video to try to deal with, or the activity. Notice, first of all, that that's a picture, and notice the Velcro effect, which means notice that you don't just experience the picture by itself. You experience it stuck to a sensation or an emotion. That's the Velcro. So in dissolving addiction, we essentially undo the Velcro effect. I want you to notice a different example that shows you the Velcro kind of from the opposite end. For example, if you look at a picture of a tree in your mind's eye, notice that it too, just like the picture of beer, is a mental picture, but you don't experience the sensation or emotion. You just see a picture of a tree. You don't want to use the tree in the way that you use beer. You don't feel the same way in the body about it, and that's because there's no Velcro effect. Now go back to the picture of your substance or activity and notice again how a sensation or emotion arises. The Velcro effect arises. Not knowing this about our experience can give us a world of trouble, because each day, whenever we get the picture of the substance or activity, we feel the Velcro, and we just, like clockwork, we go to the substance or activity for relief, and we live in addiction for years. What we do with a compulsion inquiry is we start to look for the command or the urge or the desire to use the substance or activity. So it's important to get the right word. How do you explain the force that drives you towards your substance or activity? Do you call it a drive, a command, an urge, a need, a want? Whatever it is, you have to find out what word actually resonates in your experience. How does it really feel when you're sitting on the couch and you have to have chocolate? Is it a drive towards chocolate? Is it the desire for chocolate? Whatever it is, pick the right word. For purposes of this exercise, we're just going to call it an urge to drink beer. And I want you to notice how you know you want beer or whatever the substance is. You know, again, by the Velcro effect. You have either the word beer or wine or chocolate, whatever it is, comes through, or a mental image of it, and you get the sensation. And that's how you know that you want that. So, through the living inquiries, in this case the compulsion inquiry, we literally go looking for the urge to drink beer, for example. And we look for it in every place it could possibly be in our experience. For example, this represents the mental image of beer that you experience when you close your eyes, or whatever your substance is. So what we do with the living inquiries is we ask the question, where is the urge to drink beer? So we look at the mental picture of beer, which means you close your eyes and you very quietly look at that mental picture and you ask yourself, is the picture itself the urge? Is that picture all by itself the urge? It actually doesn't matter how you answer the question, because eventually we're going to have to feel what it is we're trying to avoid. So it's going to take us down into our bodies. Whatever the answer is to the question, just continue looking at the picture. Maybe you say, no, the picture itself is not the urge. It's just a picture. Or maybe you say yes. And the reason that you say yes is because you feel something with it. That's the Velcro effect. In any event, watch the picture and just let it float in the space, noticing the space around it. I'm talking about the mental picture in your mind with your eyes closed. And then eventually the picture starts to fade naturally into the space, and it's like it disappears into nothing. And then you bring your attention down into the feeling. You actually bring your attention all the way down into it, whatever it is, whether it's a sensation or a feeling, and you rest with it and let it be. And you ask the question, is that energy by itself the urge? Now, if you're resting with just an energy or a sensation all by itself, and there aren't any words and pictures on it, naturally your answer is going to be no, that's not the urge, that's just a sensation. I've taken the picture of the beer off of it. It's not related to beer anymore, it's just a sensation. So you feel into it and rest. And if there are no words and pictures on it, you're likely to say, no, that's not it. And at that point, just rest and feel it. Let that sensation or emotion be there as you take that moment of rest. Watch the sensation floating in the space until it naturally dissolves away. Notice that you're not making it go away. All of these things are temporary. A sensation naturally goes away, and you just rest with it. But sometimes it's not that easy. For example, you start to feel into the sensation, this little guy here, and what you bump up against are some other of the elements. Maybe a shape in the body that looks like a fist, or maybe the words, I want beer, pop up. That's okay, because we're undoing the Velcro effect. This is the Velcro effect. These words that you experience in your mind, or this mental picture, let's say it's in the chest. When you close your eyes, you literally see a fist down there or some other shape. They're Velcro to that sensation. So all we want to do is look at these things individually and ask our question. So let's start with the words, I want beer. Again, these are words that you're hearing in your mind, so you stop and you hear the words, or you can even see them written out like on a billboard or something, and you rest with them. Let them be as they are. Take a moment of rest. And then you ask yourself the one question, which is, are those words themselves the urge, the actual urge? Maybe you say no because you see that they're just words. They're not actually an urge. Or maybe you say yes because you feel that sensation with it. Frankly, it doesn't matter. Just look at the words or listen to them and let them naturally fade into the presence. You don't have to do anything. Just notice them and they begin to fade away. And then you have another opportunity to go back to that sensation that underlies all of it. Now, let's assume this time when you go into the sensation, again, there's no words or pictures on it. And you ask that question, is this sensation by itself the urge to drink beer? Let's say because there are no words and pictures on it, you get a clear no. All that means is rest with that sensation. Let it be there until it naturally dissolves. But again, because we're doing the undoing the Velcro effect, you may get a yes. And sometimes we get a yes because there are shapes in our body. Our mind literally projects shapes down into our body, some of us. And so we might experience, like with a feeling in the stomach, a round shape around it. Or even something like this, like a fist that seems to be projected into our chest. Or maybe it's a vague shape that you really don't even know what it is. You can just sort of see it in your awareness. That's still the Velcro effect. And in some ways, as long as those two things are stuck together, that shape and this sensation, you're probably going to want to drink beer. So what we do is we look at this shape, whatever it is, in your own experience, pull that shape up or look at it, and just be mindfully aware of it. Watch how it floats in your awareness and ask the question, is that shape by itself the actual urge to drink beer? And the key is it doesn't matter what your answer is, you're becoming more conscious, and that's what helps with addiction, is to be more conscious. To be conscious means to look at that picture or shape as it appears in your experience and just let it be there until it naturally fades. And as it fades away, again, feel into the sensation, but now notice that you've taken all the words or pictures off of it. And now that you've undone the Velcro effect, that energy is now free to relax, fall away. That's the compulsion inquiry. When I take you through the video, I'm going to facilitate you through the compulsion inquiry, and you'll get the real experience of it. Before I do that, I want to explain the anxiety inquiry. Anxiety often appears differently. We don't always see pictures of beer. Sometimes we do. Maybe we see other pictures around anxiety or shapes. The anxiety inquiry works the same way, in the sense that we're trying to find something, but we're not looking for an urge or a drive or a need. We're looking for the thing that actually makes us feel anxious, which is a threat or danger. So again, you have to find the right word that works for you. If you experience anxiety as if, there's danger somewhere or there's a threat somewhere, notice that 95% or more of the time, you're not actually experiencing an actual danger or an actual threat. You're just thinking, and thinking makes your body feel anxious. And anxiety contributes to addiction. So we want to deal with it squarely through the anxiety inquiry. Going back to our little friend here, all that anxiety means is that there's a Velcro effect happening, which means you're thinking and you're feeling, but you're not fully conscious of that. And so you perceive, for example, a threat. If you think there's a threat, let's see if we can find it. You might want to close your eyes to really experience this and not just watch me. Let's say you've got a picture, and I don't know if you can see the picture, but it's a picture of someone sitting in a hospital bed. So imagine you have this mental picture of you getting sick. You're not actually sick, you're just having a thought about it. So I want you to close your eyes and look at that picture, or whatever other picture is coming up. And just rest and look at it. And now we have a different question for the anxiety inquiry. The question is that picture by itself the threat? Don't make it mental. Listen to your body. We always listen to the body for the answer. So, let's say you feel some sensation with it. Then you can say yes. You might say no if you don't feel anything with the picture, but if you do feel something, it's okay to say yes. So you say yes, and then you bring your attention down into that feeling and rest with it without words and pictures. And then you ask yourself, is that sensation by itself the actual threat? And the key is to really rest and get quiet, feel it, notice the space around it, let it be as it is. See if you can find an actual threat. I mean, something that puts you in real immediate danger in the feeling. Chances are, if there aren't any words and pictures that are Velcro to that feeling, you're just going to notice that it's actually just a feeling, and you can rest with it and let it be until essentially it begins to soften or even dissolve. But the anxiety inquiry isn't done there. What we want to do after that is we want to examine the other words and pictures that may make you think that there's a threat here. For example, what if the words pop up, that's scary? So you're having a thought. You're not experiencing a real threat. You're reacting to that set of words. But yet you're not conscious of it. So the key is to become aware of the words. Rest with the words, whether you hear them or see them spelled out, and ask yourself, are those words themselves the actual threat? And so that you keep it from being intellectual, answer based on whether you have a feeling. Again, you might say no, but if you feel something, go ahead and say yes. And that's just the cue for you to bring your attention down into the feeling. And anytime you're bringing your attention down into feeling or sensation, you want to feel it without those words on it, or without the picture that you were just looking at. Bring your attention in there, and then ask the question again. Is that sensation or feeling by itself actually the threat? See, now you're not avoiding the feeling. Now you're not in your head. You're resting in presence. You're letting that feeling be there. Let's say for some reason you want to say yes, but you don't know why. The reason that you said yes is because you're sensing that there's a Velcro effect still up there. So maybe there's a little shape there. Maybe it's a very nebulous shape that seems to go with that anxious feeling in your stomach. You can look at that shape. It's a thought in the form of a mental shape. Close your eyes and look at it. Look at the shape and ask yourself, is that shape the threat? And you keep going until you eventually get to just the sensation. Doesn't have any words or pictures on it. You've taken everything off. And you ask, is that sensation by itself the threat? So it's a process of just looking for a threat and being with everything that arises. Now, the third facet of addiction is, of course, the deficiency story. That's the identity, me. And that's the big culprit in addiction. So let's say that you have some of the similar shapes that you had with the threat sequence. But this is different. We're not looking for a threat, and we're not looking for an urge to drink beer. We're actually looking for the one who's not good enough, if that's your story. So let's assume we're looking for the one who's not good enough. You assume that's who you are. You've lived your life that way. But now we're actually going to challenge you to see if you can find that self through the unfindable inquiry. So with the unfindable inquiry, it's the same process. You're looking at words, pictures, and energies, but you're asking a different question. You're asking, is that me, the one who's not good enough? Or whatever your story is. So you would look at whatever words come up. Let's say you hear these words, I don't want to feel this. I've been avoiding this all my life. So you rest and you look at those words, and you ask the question, are those words by themselves me? Or are they just words? So with the unfindable inquiry, again, we just look at those words. I don't want to feel this. And we ask, are those words me, the one who's not good enough? It's okay to say yes. And you can say yes if you feel something with it. That's what makes us feel like we're not good enough, is the feeling or the sensation that comes with the words. So you let those words just quietly fade into presence as you're looking straight at them or hearing them. And as they disappear, bring your attention down into the feeling. Rest with it. Let it float in the space. And ask yourself, Is this feeling all by itself, without words and pictures on it? Again, you might say yes. You might not even know why you're saying yes, but I know why you're saying it. You're saying it because there's still words or pictures that are stuck to that feeling that make you feel like you're not good enough. So if you rest, you'll start hearing the words, and maybe the words are, I'm not good enough. And somehow those words make it seem like the words are you, just because you hear them. But you can become mindfully aware of the words, hearing them, or seeing them spelled out. And as you're resting with that, just ask, are those words themselves me, the one who's not good enough? And again, it's okay to say yes if you feel something. So let's say you do feel something with that. And then as you're resting with that feeling, maybe even, not everybody sees shapes in the body, but maybe there's a shape down there that goes with the feeling. And somehow shapes and pictures in the body make feelings feel more substantial. So it's good to look at shapes and pictures in the body. So you become aware of that picture wherever it is. It's right in front of you if you notice. And you ask the question, is this picture by itself me, the one who's not good enough? And then as that picture begins to relax, you start to feel the sensation. All by itself, it doesn't have any words or pictures on it. And you can ask the question again, is that me? This sensation by itself, is that me, the one who's not good enough? So what's the point of all that? The point is to see that that's not really who you are. That's a script that you learned when you were a kid, and you carried it over through childhood, and it contributed to your addiction. In seeing that you can't find that self that's not good enough, you don't have to live like that anymore. And that can free you up to live without addiction.